Welcome to this week's Bitshares Dev Hangout. This recording is brought to you by the Beyond Bitcoin crew. We welcome all Bitshares members to join us weekly and discuss the latest news, updates, and developments. If you'd like to participate in our next meeting, then please join us live on Mumble every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Did you know the Beyond Bitcoin show now has a registered delegate? Please consider voting if you find our Hangouts and recordings useful. The delegate name to vote for is fuzzy.beyondbitcoin. Again, that's fuzzy.beyondbitcoin. The Beyond Bitcoin crew would like to send out a big thank you to everyone who's already voted and allowing us the opportunity to serve the Bitshares ecosystem and our valued community members. So once again, welcome and please enjoy the show.
Welcome to another Beyond Bitcoin community hangout. Today we will be talking with Adam, Ernest of Bitshares Vote and Follow My Vote. Adam is currently working with Bitshares and will be taking questions from myself and our community. If you feel like you have a nagging question, but don't want to say it out loud or don't have a mic, type it in the sidebar and I'll ask the questions for you. With that said, Adam, are you ready to rumble?
Yes.
Why don't you start off with a little bit of an introduction for those who are listening and those who are here who do not know who you are, because you've kind of been working out of sight of a lot of people because you haven't been on the forums too often.
Sure. So my name is Adam Ernest. I'm the founder and CEO of Follow My Vote. Follow My Vote has partnered with Bitshares to bring voting to the blockchain. We decided in working with Bitshares over the summer, we had plans to develop our own voting DAC using the Bitshares toolkit, and decided that it made sense to merge our efforts with the Bitshares X team and the DNS team. And since then, we have committed working with the Bitshares core dev team to develop a voting system that can be integrated with the Bitshares blockchain. So to date, I have put a considerable amount of effort creating awareness and support for the idea of doing voting on a blockchain. I have been marketing things primarily under the concepts, primarily under the Follow My Vote brand. And if you go to our website, followmyvote.com, you'll see that we have a ton of content and that we have developed over the course of the months, a very active blog that covers not only voting related stuff that's going on here in the United States and across the world, but also the technology aspects. You can see there's articles about cryptography, cryptocurrency, voting security. We've done a huge campaign, over the summer and into the fall, in the days leading up to the midterm elections here in the United States. We did a huge campaign called...
You just cut out. What was it called?
So we had a huge campaign going, a reasons campaign. It was a reasons why the world needs a voting DAC. And so we did an analysis. And one of the first things that we did was we uncovered a lot of the vulnerabilities that exist with the voting system here in the United States. We talked about some of the voting systems that are currently in place today, voting systems that are being used in polling locations across the country, and expose a lot of those vulnerabilities with certain systems. There's been studies by Princeton that have showed, with a few minutes time and some basic computer science knowledge, someone could take a $2 chip from Radio Shack and plug it into a voting machine and manipulate thousands of votes in one fell swoop without anyone being the wiser. That study was done in around 2006 to 2008. But it just goes to show that although some people kind of put faith and trust in the system, that it is the current system that is secure and that there's no issues, there are actually big problems, major problems with the way we vote today. And that's just one example. So one of the things we've really been doing is not an ongoing marketing / education campaign to expose a lot of the vulnerabilities with the current system, and to talk about the solution that we're partnering with Bitshares to develop and how it is far superior than anything else that exists out there, and that it's much more secure than anything that exists. There's a huge misconception right now, not only among the people, but among legislators, that if you do voting online, that there's no way possible it can be a secure process. And that couldn't actually be farther from the truth. The solution that we've developed addresses a lot of the security vulnerabilities that exist today in the current system. And it is truly much more secure process that actually would improve things. So that's been one of our biggest challenges in creating awareness for and support for our cause and what we're trying to do, bringing voting online, making it a secure process, and really giving as many people access to vote as possible, and making sure that they have a way to confirm that their voice was heard. That's one of the great things about the solution that we're developing is it would really allow for provably honest elections. And that's something that we don't have in the United States or anywhere in the world for that matter. And I think that's something that really the people want, and it is long overdue. The technology exists today to make it happen, and we want to be the company on the cutting edge that makes it a reality. And so I've been going out and not only talking to the people, but I've been talking to legislators at all levels of government. I've spoken with U.S. senators. I've spoken with congressmen. I've spoken with the governor here in Virginia. I've made trips to Richmond, the capital of Virginia, and talked with election officials and talked with secretaries that head up the Department of Elections, and to our conversations about our technology and our platform and what we could potentially do. And there is an opportunity. There's definitely opportunity to bring this solution to the people here in the United States. The reality is that there's a lot of legislation in place that is currently preventing an innovative solution like ours to actually be piloted in a real world scenario in an effort to be certified by the various states in the United States, and to be an option for voting registrars to use in elections. So we're really working off of a old paradigm and assumption of what is possible with technology. And we really are going to need to help the legislators and election officials kind of guide them through a paradigm shift, really, in order to create an environment where we can prove out our technology in an actual election here in the United States. One of the things that we're going to be doing in the meantime and in parallel to that effort is to develop our solution as a commercially viable polling polling system that will allow companies to use this to do market research or opinion polls. We're even looking into other use cases such as proxy voting, which is a big one, and I think that would be really complementary to the road that Bitshares is on right now. We're also looking into creating petitions and doing things like People's Choice Awards, for instance. I was just contacted by a professional organization here in the New River Valley area in Virginia that has a huge award ceremony. They have around 1,000 members, corporate members that all have tech-related businesses in the area. Very prominent organization that does an award banquet every year. Actually saw us featured in a major news publication. We actually got the front page of the Roanoke Times recently. They came to our offices and interviewed. Us, took a bunch of pictures, and we were all featured on the front page of Roanoke Times. And from that effort, we got the attention of the RBTC, the Roanoke Blacksburg Technology Council, and they asked us, "Hey, we saw you have a voting system. We would love to use it to host our People's Choice Awards this year." So we thought that was pretty cool. It was a novel idea and a totally different use case for our system, our voting system that we're in the process of developing. We developed we worked with the Bitshares team to develop a proof of concept in November of last year. And we're invited out by the California Association of Voting Officials to demonstrate this proof of concept at a joint new law conference for election officials in California. And we had a very successful demo, an exciting and engaging conversation after the fact with some high profile people in California. We talked to people from the offices of the Secretary of State and talked about different opportunities and ways that we might be able to integrate our system out there in California. And from that, we have an official endorsement, which is prominently featured on our homepage of our website.
What is the website name?
followmyvote.com. If you go there now, you can see that Cami Foote, the registrar of voters in Inyo County, a very well-respected registrar of voters in the state of California, has publicly endorsed us, and has been a big supporter of us. She's really a maverick and someone that has helped us kind of understand the landscape and opportunities for possible implementation. She really helped us understand kind of the lay of the land in California, and we're continuing to talk with her about how we might be able to make things work out there. But knowing that voting, or doing voting in the true sense of it, in legitimate government-sponsored elections, is something that is a long lead opportunity, meaning that it's going to be a little while, unfortunately, just because of the way things work and the fact that legislation will need to be introduced in order to really support a pilot. Again, like I said earlier, we started to look elsewhere as well. I was actually, through communications with a couple of folks on the forum, we have made contact with the Pirate Party of Norway, and they have invited me out later this month to Oslo, Norway, to attend a national party meeting and give a lecture on Follow My Vote and all the advantages a system like ours could provide their country when it comes to elections. The Pirate Party is a party that's a new party that's really gaining some traction. They're all about transparency and accountability in government, which is really perfect for a perfect type of supporter for our system, in that we believe that one of the biggest, if not the biggest, value proposition for our solution is the fact that we do provide transparency into the election process, the democratic process, and that our system will really support provably honest elections. And so that is very, very exciting. I couldn't be more thrilled to be, traveling overseas and have an opportunity to market our efforts on a global, national scale in Norway, but really taking this thing global, and starting to look at other countries where we might be able to implement this solution in a real world scenario a lot sooner than we may be here in the United States. So that's one of the things that we're working through as well. But in parallel to all that, again, we're revisiting some other business models and things that we might be able to use to generate revenue and activity on the platform in the near term, such as proxy voting.
So that'll be down the line.
Yes.
Okay, so that was about 15 minutes that you've been talking about the history and all that good stuff. Could you give just a really quick update on your status and Follow My Vote status in relationship to Bitshares, just for the record, so people who are listening and might not be available to ask the questions, after the Hangout, will be able to have just a little bit of an understanding.
Sure. Can you clarify on kind of what you mean by status?
About the relationship between Follow My Vote and Bitshares, and how if Follow My Vote is still in existence, which you kind of already talked about a little bit, but a lot of people aren't here from the very beginning. So I'm trying to use this as kind of like to catch them up a little bit on what happened during, the merger, where we're at since then, what Follow My Vote is doing, if it's something that's a separate entity that you're working on, or if it's working with Bitshares, those types of things.
Sure. So Follow My Vote has partnered with Bitshares to develop voting functionality that will exist on the Bitshares blockchain. We, to date, most of our effort at Follow My Vote has been spent marketing Bitshares indirectly by spreading the word of our partnership and what we plan to develop or are in the process of developing with Bitshares, and the solution that we will be bringing to the world. And again, a lot of our time and effort has been spent there, indirectly marketing Bitshares. Now, since the turn of the year, with the previous marketing director stepping down, I have stepped in and offered to help out as much as I can, as much as I have time to dedicate to directly marketing for Bitshares and lending my expertise wherever I can. Unfortunately, I don't have as much time as I would like to be able to dedicate to that, because I have to continue to manage this whole other initiative that will benefit Bitshares in a variety of ways. But some of the things that we have been doing, I worked with upfront with Cass, Nikolai Prometheus, Dan, Bytemaster, several people on the website, and the new version of the website we rolled out at the beginning of February. Big part of my involvement, or our involvement as a team, was to ensure that the new website, the transition to the new website and the new website itself was handled with SEO and analytics in mind. So when we're looking at things like the site transition, more specifically, SEO was a big part of it, and looking and making sure that the site was transitioned in a way that where we didn't lose traffic, that we didn't lose rankings that we were getting as a result of making a lot of the different changes. A lot of boring behind the scenes stuff that people don't really realize or even see is a lot of what I worked on. I did help a little bit with content development. And of course, we worked to install analytics tracking and set up goals and things like that in the Google Analytics platform. So as far as involvement on the website, since then, I've kind of taken a back seat. It seems like Cass has a very clear vision for the website and what he wants to see, and how he wants things to be laid out and developed. And he's been getting a lot of support from the rest of the community in terms of making sure that the messaging is clear. And I've kind of yielded to people with of the community that are a little bit closer to the brand and understand the core product fit assets much better than I do. We've also been working hard to promote Bitshares on the social media. My team manages our Twitter account. We have had a lot of success, especially since the new site rolled out. We have had a ton of success and gained a ton of followers and engagement. So that's something my team has been doing 100%. We also partnered with RG Crypto and gave him the reins to the Facebook account. I worked with him. I talked with him in the beginning of this year. We connected, and based on his experience and expertise in Facebook, we guys decided to let him take over the management of that, and he's done a great job. I'll be posting to the forums a little bit later today some of the statistics from not only from the website, but from our social media campaigns and how things have improved since we rolled out the new version of the website.
Sorry for interrupting. Cass and them, I want to make sure that while we're talking about this, Cass, Fabdeso, Biscape, and Carpet Ride have given a plus 1,002 to the idea of Google Analytics collectively. So is that what you're talking about as far as the data regarding the website that you're going to post?
Yeah, I don't. Unfortunately, I'm not the admin to Google Analytics. Bytemaster is the admin. Bytemaster controls that. Bytemaster would be the one that needed to give anyone access that doesn't have access that is requesting access. So he's your man there. But yeah, we have a lot of great data in Google Analytics. There's a lot of analysis that can be done. So there's some good data there. We also have been trying to really get a referral program off the ground. I've been working with Valentine, to try to get an incentivized referral program going. He's done a great job with Faucet, and there's been a lot of work put into our ability to refer people and track the activity that's been going on there. It's exciting to see a lot of various people from the community, get involved in referring people.
Is there any way that the people who are here and attending or the listeners can help you?
Well, absolutely. I mean, just, continuing to help spread the word in any way they can about, Bitshares, about what we have going on now and what we have planned for the future, I think will go a long way. Staying passionate about the ideas and the community and the people behind this movement, and committing to making it a successful initiative, really staying positive. And what doesn't help, is when people may go into the forums and make comments, about this person or that person or myself, and really have negative things to say. I think what people really need to understand is that we're all in this together. We all are really working hard, whether it is transparent and visible by forum activity or not. There are a lot of things going on, and there's a lot of time and effort being put into this, especially from my end. The way I look at this is that, I'm not successful if Bitshares is not successful, and I'm fully committed to this and making it happen. So I would really appreciate people understanding that and giving people the benefit of the doubt that, if they haven't heard from me or anyone on my team for a while, that it's for a good reason.
It's an interesting type of situation, right? Because the running of a decentralized community, which is what we are, it requires people doing things the way that they know how, and it requires also a level of coordination.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is we have multiple channels for many groups of people. It's very hard, and it's going to become increasingly difficult over time for a newbie to join up and really know what's going on behind the scenes, or maybe not even behind the scenes, but right in front of their eyes, but they're not aware of the channel they could easily be a part of, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why we keep these things going, is because it's something easy for you to reach out occasionally, once a month or, every so often, to kind of say people, hey, everybody, I'm here. This is what's going on. And to give the investors the time to, ask some questions. So we appreciate this. This is really helpful for us.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I'm always happy to jump on a Mumble Hangout. I like talking to people. I like being able to communicate with people. I like being able to convey tone, emotion in my words. I am very much would prefer these Mumble Hangouts. I would be more than happy to do a weekly Mumble Hangout if that makes sense. I want to make sure that I stay open with respect to communication. I do have to apologize for not being as attentive to the forums as I could have been in connecting and with people and posting. But any messages that I receive, I do respond to on the forums, and have worked with several people to get interest in referral program, and of course now this opportunity in Norway. That all happened through the forums. So, I'm here. It's not like I'm trying to close myself off and don't want to be bothered. So I just want to be very clear that, I'm more than happy to jump on these mumbles, and I'm glad I'm here today and that we're talking, and I'd love to continue to do this moving forward.
Well, we appreciate it. And you will notice this, the conversation goes both ways. For instance, here, Favdisu is asking, and I hope I said that correct, question regarding SEO. what keywords do you try to rank? And did you know that Bitshares.org doesn't have a page rank with Google?
I wasn't aware of the page rank thing. Page rank is not something I'm too concerned about. Some people believe that page rank really isn't that important. We do need to look at the website and figure out what the SEO strategy should really be. I think that there are a lot of opportunities. We've done some preliminary keyword research around cryptocurrency related concepts and blockchain technology, things like that, and think that there are some target keywords that we could go after. So it's something, SEO is something that takes a considerable amount of effort, a lot of time, and it takes a while to see results. So we haven't launched a full SEO campaign by any means. Again, our involvement was been really to preserve of in the transition of the website, to really preserve the traffic that we were getting, doing 301 redirects from all of our old pages to the new pages, things like that, just to make sure that we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot, when moving to the new site. We made sure that there were, title tags and, meta tags on the core pages of the website, that the site was submitted to Google Webmaster Tools, and that sitemaps were created and submitted. So a lot of the technical stuff was where we spent most of our time. If there's people that would like to get involved and like to maybe partner with us on a content development, SEO focused marketing campaign to increase traffic, I would really welcome that with open arms. Again, content development around the core concepts of Bitshares is not my strong suit, but if there's anyone that wants to take that on, I'd be happy to play the role of the strategist and guide those people to develop content around terms that could help increase our rankings and get those pages up on our website as soon as we can.
Bitscape asks here, what is the best way for people to reach Adam with direct communication? Forum, PM, email, etc.?
Email is the best way. adam@followmyvote.com. I try my best to stay up on top of my email and respond to people within a few business days. So that is by far the best way to get in touch with me.
I'm kind of interested, and this is along the lines of how can we help you guys, right? You mentioned earlier that there were legal hurdles, and that's what slows things down, right? How can people help change that? Is there any place where you can point people to bills that are being looked at, being written for the House that might help us to, something that we can support that would help us to get the legal framework to kind of respond in a way that helps us move forward?
Sure. So, you can look at it a few different ways. There's one thing that we could do is really to go straight to legislators' doors and knock and say, hey, we have this solution. We think it's great. We want you to pass legislation to help make it a reality, which could be effective. But, I think that really where we would likely be more effective is if we inspire the people of the United States to lobby our legislators on our behalf. And it's one thing to go knock on the door and say, hey, use my system. It's another thing to have the people of the United States, the elected officials, constituents themselves, go to legislators and say, hey, there's a really cool voting system out there that I want to use as a voter. And why can't we use this? Why isn't there legislation that allows for this?
And should they be saying, if whenever they mention it by name, right? If you go and you talk to somebody and say, man, because I've done this, voting for me is the easiest way to get the point across about what the blockchain can do. Because you talk money and people's eyes just glaze over unless you're telling them you're giving it to them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if I go out and let's say this pops up, because it does quite often, and I tell people for the first time in the history that we know of humanity, we will be able to have honest voting, which is so mind-blowingly huge, right? That's something that, you can explain that to people, and they'll, if somebody's interested, they say, well, who's going to be doing this, right? Do we say, hey, well, Follow My Vote's doing it, and they're powered by Bitshares technology, which creates all these other things? Or how would you explain it to somebody if they want to know who's behind this, what's going on?
Can you kind of rephrase that, recap maybe?
If I bring this up to somebody and they say, who's behind this? What do I look up to find out about this voting platform? Are we directing them to Bitshares Vote, or is it going to be Follow My Vote? How does that work?
Sure, that's a great question. So I would direct them to followmyvote.com. There is a lot of material there now, not only on our homepage of our website that suggests various value propositions to the end user that our voting system would provide. We're actively working to build out content on our website on a daily basis that helps explain our voting system and the concepts behind our voting system in simple terms. I'm actually working right now with Slick Willie from the forums. He's on my team, and he's working right now on an infographic that explains blockchain technology on a fundamental level and educates people on how the use of blockchain technology makes perfect sense when it comes to a voting system, and how in using blockchain technology, the voting system, the votes within the ballot boxes would be secured and unable to be changed, irreversible. And so it's concepts like that, fundamental concepts that we need to really get out there and explain and use to educate people on why this makes sense and how it can really be secure. One of the things that we are planning right now, I'm actively recruiting a team of interns from Virginia Tech, marketing interns, that are going to be helping us start a grassroots but very targeted campaign that will give the information that people need to begin reaching out to their legislators, and that to begin talking, restarting that conversation with the people that matter.
Hey Adam, I have a quick question.
Sure.
If you don't mind me interrupting, I apologize.
Not a problem.
Hey, so I understand, and I absolutely agree with everything you're doing as far as getting the word out there and raising awareness and really trying to bring this to everyone's attention, and I'm in 100% agreement as well with sort of the idealism aspect of this would be absolutely wonderful, and this is what we need, and this would benefit everyone. But my question is, kind of to take the devil's advocate role a little bit. I think everyone's pretty aware, and it's pretty apparent through any number of other things that, this country may need, yet there's absolutely no way to get it to work as of right now, because let's just say that the majority of the legislators aren't necessarily going to do something or move in this direction unless they have some sort of monetary incentive or there's some reason for them to be swayed besides the idealistic reason, right? So, I mean, and maybe we've seen this in a few other cases, like I'll throw marijuana legalization out there as an example, but things where even though the majority of people polled may be in agreement with it, that doesn't mean that anything's going to happen and anything's going to get done, right? And you kind of mentioned, the people that matter as far as, okay, well, the politicians may be the people that matter as far as writing these votes. But I guess I want to wrap this up into a question rather than just rambling on here. What do you see? What strategies are you guys taking to actually make this happen, regardless of what the politicians do or say? How can we start to, utilize this as the people and bypass, the politicians, and I mean not in a way that's illegal or blatantly, disruptive, but just in a way that basically makes people see and understand that this is something that's great, and the politicians kind of at that point have no choice but to get on board with it, because obviously the public sentiment is in moving in that direction. Are there any way? I mean, I know you mentioned, getting private corporate entities to trying to sell it to them and stuff like that. But are there any other ways that you see just kind of getting this moving outside of the sphere of trying to directly influence the politicians to actually write laws that make it usable?
Sure. Thanks for the question. Great question, by the way. So yes, absolutely. So once the solution is developed, we would love to release it to the public, for the public to use, to be able to set up, any sort of poll or election they may want to do. The reality is the system would be able to support a parallel election, and if we wanted to, we could create parallel elections when big elections come around, like the presidential election in 2016. There are, however, the system being that the system will support it, someone will undoubtedly use it for that reason. And if we can bring enough attention to the system, the voting system, and the parallel elections being hosted within it, and get significant participation in that election, that speaks. That says something in and of itself, I mean, the goal would be to get more people to vote in our election than in the real election. And then at that point, people would really have to take notice and address that, So when the system is ready to go, that's definitely something that I see happening is to, hey, provide this, to provide that solution and say, hey, this can't be a reality in the current system because of X, Y, and Z, but here it is. Feel free to use it. Let's vote for this system by actually voting in an election on this system. In and of itself could be a petition to our government saying, look, people have voted in this system. It's essentially a petition for this system to be used in real elections. So I think that's one way that we can really get their attention and get the people to stand up in an organized way and really show their support for its use. I mentioned working over the summer to really build a grassroots campaign, to get the people to lobby on our behalf. So that is due to the fact that, the system itself is not going to be ready over the summer. But instead of waiting and saying, oh, it's not ready, we're not going to do anything, I really would like to really gain support from the people for the idea itself prior to it even being released as a commercial application that people can use for parallel elections. And then when the time comes, have people jump aboard and use it. So I think that's definitely, to your question, that's definitely something that we could do, we should do. I'm excited to do once we have the opportunity to do so.
I want to cover Bitscape's question after I mention this. You're talking about parallel elections and all that good stuff, and this is kind of why I keep touching upon where Follow My Vote and Bitshares kind of collide, right? Is because it kind of helps us to understand where what tools you have available to you. For instance, it's powered by Bitshares, right? Follow My Vote is, but is it going to be a separate blockchain, or is Bitshares going to be kind of partially powered by Follow My Vote to a degree with respect to maybe having its own polling that uses this technology? How is that going to work?
The approach that we're taking is a voting system branded as a Follow My Vote system being powered by Bitshares, and with the system being integrated directly with the Bitshares blockchain, not on a separate blockchain. We just want to be able to create a user experience and a design to the interface that can be specifically customized to support voting and the voting functionality itself.
So this would mean that you could very easily, the reason I brought this up, Bitscape asks here, in other words, how does Follow My Vote intend to leverage the immense power of this community to get the word out in a more direct way than just pointing people to a website? I wanted to ask that underlying question because it really has an impact on how you would answer Bitscape's question.
I think until we have an actual voting system that people can use, the only thing we really can do is point them to the website and use the website as a tool to gain support for the idea, give people the tools to reach out to their legislators, create a petition. We have a petition right now going on change.org. If you go to our website, at the bottom of our page, you can scroll to the bottom, and in the section that says "In Transparency We Trust," you see a Statue of Liberty and an American flag in the background. There's a button that says "Support Provably Honest Elections." If you click on that, you'll be taken to change.org, where there's a petition going that talks about the use of a provably honest election system or voting system to use in elections. It would be a tremendous help if everyone in the Bitshares community signed that petition and helped, again, point people to the website and leverage the tools that we will be creating to reach out to the legislators to further promote the idea and connect with legislators to ensure that they're aware of what we're here and that what we're doing and we're trying to work towards. Once the system itself is available, logging in, using that system and getting other people to do so is going to be a big help as well.
What stands in the way of a working system? What needs to be accomplished?
We're working with the Bitshares core development team directly to develop the Follow My Vote voting application. They have been focused on getting Bitshares to a stable 1.0 release. Once that is done, we should be able to work with the core dev team to begin implementing voting-related features into the Bitshares blockchain and helping us design and implement the user interface as well.
We'll say within the year, will we have something to demo or play with?
I think that's a fair estimate. I think that by the end of the year we should definitely have something out. Right now, we have a demo, a proof of concept that we've developed, which we showcased at a conference. I'd be happy to demo for anyone in the community if you guys want to get an idea of what the user experience could be like and how election could be hosted in the system. I would definitely be happy to show anyone, but we don't have anything right now, unfortunately, that people could log into and test out themselves. But we hope to get there by the end of the year, if that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. And I would love to see a demo.
Okay, great. Fuzz, I don't know, maybe perhaps we can set up a Google Hangout or something where we can do a screen share and show a lot of people at one time.
Sure, we can do that.
Okay, great. I see WildPig, BTS WildPig shared petitions.whitehouse.gov link. So I just wanted to comment on that real quick. We actually did create a petition on whitehouse.gov. They have changed the way that they work, and there's a very limited amount of time that you have to make your petition, to hit your goals in terms of signatures with respect to your petition. If you don't, they pull your petition down off of the whitehouse.gov website. And so we learned that the hard way. We launched a petition on whitehouse.gov. I got a bunch of people to sign, only for them to take it down after a month because we didn't hit our lofty goal of getting 100,000 people to sign. Change.org is much better in that once you create a petition on Change.org, it's permanent. It never goes away, and will give us a chance to really build a long list of supporters over time. But it's a great idea, and it's something we tried, but we've moved to Change.org for those reasons.
Hey, Adam, do you see any more promise at the level of like local municipalities, like I don't know, like a small town in Nebraska or something like that? I mean, is the legal framework a little easier to get around in convincing people at a more local level, but yet still within the government to hold, whether it be board meetings or what are they called? Just local votes. Any sort of local level stuff that might be an easier in as far as the government goes?
Sure. I mean, I really wish it were. So I'm on a first name basis with so actually back up. We live in Blacksburg. I live in Blacksburg, Virginia, which is a small college town, about 65,000 people, 25,000 which are students that are only here during the fall and spring. But I have taken a vested interest in getting involved in local politics, and I regularly attend town council meetings. I'm on a first name basis with every member of town council. I know the mayor. We have. I'm on a first name basis with the mayor as well. We talk to each other. We see each other at events all the time. We were featured in the paper together after doing a demo to the local community at a startup space. Back in February, I did put on a demonstration for the community, and there were a lot of community members there, to include the mayor. And I showed them what we had developed and gauged kind of interest with town council. And town council, everyone on town council, at least the 3 or 4 members that I talked to directly about it, said they would fully support using our platform. But their hands were kind of tied in that it wasn't their decision, and that it was the registrar of voters at the county that was responsible for providing election systems for their elections, for the town council elections. They actually have an election coming up in November, and I was very interested in seeing whether or not that would be opportunity. So once they told me that was really up to the registrar of voters, I went and talked to our registrar of voters at Montgomery County and had a very good conversation with them. And the reality is that they're limited in what they can use, or that they can spend their funds on and use in elections, regardless of what level the election, whether we're talking about a small town council election or we're talking about federal elections in their county. They're really the key decision makers that get to pick where they spend their budget. But their hands are tied in a sense that they can only spend their budget on systems that have been certified by the Secretary of States in each state.
It seems like what's keeping us is the funding, right? But this is potentially very cheap service to offer for initial towns, right?
Right. I mean, that's actually the biggest advantage of our system. Look, we're talking about revolutionizing the industry and presenting a superior solution that could be beneficial in a lot of ways. And at the same time, we're reducing costs. Most times when a company develops a solution that has an opportunity to really improve an industry, that solution is much more expensive than everything else that's out there.
Not only that, but that's how they also that's how somebody with certain interests might be able to control the implementation of this. Is usually through the budget. Well, you can't get this, because even though it's far cheaper, we are the ones who are going to hold the strings to the purse. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just an interesting thing to think about. Maybe it can be, the cost could be offset, or
the thing is that that's the registrar's main job, right? Is to spend the budget most effectively. So their main concern believe it or not, isn't voter turnout. It isn't, things like that. It's how can I do the most with the budget that I've been given, and how can I make sure that every voter has a way to vote if they want to vote. That's their role. And so I find that a lot of registrars are impartial. They don't really care what system that they use. And the reality is, if we're able to provide a cheaper system that they can actually spend their money on, they're highly likely to do it. Like the cost isn't an issue at all. Cost is actually working in our favor. The main issue again is having the barrier to entry really is the certification requirements or the legislation that is in place in each state that governs what types of voting systems can be used in elections. What needs to change is that legislation. For instance, the fact that our system would need to be online and would in order to function, at least on a network, in order to function, is an issue. Currently, right now, there's no legislation, as far as I'm aware of, in any state that allows voting to take place on a network. So that's something that needs to change in order for us to pilot our solution. And if we can do a successful pilot, if we can get that legislation to change and then conduct a successful pilot, we can then submit our system to be certified by the Secretary of State. And at that point, then it would be an option for the voter registrars to actually use. And again, I think if we can get to that point, they would be happy to use it because we're going to virtually eliminate their costs. I mean, it's their budgets are so tight, especially in rural areas. I mean, it's an issue. Like I just heard on the news that they're consolidating precincts in some areas of the state of Virginia because they don't have enough budget at their disposal to ensure that each individual precinct is properly funded. So money is a big issue, and again, I think that's going to be our advantage. It's all the red tape and regulations that's really preventing us from actually getting our system in there and used.
What do you think of the idea of running a delegate somewhere down the line when delegate pay is significant enough for this to work? Running a delegate and using that money to lobby politicians.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think that there's a right way and a wrong way to go about lobbying, if you will. I don't I almost don't like that word just because of a lot of the connotations that come with it, but I think that the people should really be involved in the process. And, I would love to really get the people to lobby on our behalf in order to get this done, as opposed to lobbying directly. However, if that tactic proves to be ineffective, then that's definitely something I think that we should consider.
So, Adam, you mentioned, I think you brought us to the crux of the issue, which is legislation at a state level on a state-by-state basis, allowing for the use of these methods in an election. You've got delegates on the Bitshares blockchain that are located in some cases in different states in the United States and obviously in other countries as well. You mentioned that you're taking on some interns to begin working on grassroots organizing, and that you want folks wherever they are to kind of fight this fight for the greater good. My question kind of is back to what I asked earlier in writing. How can we work together to do this? Because I have pretty extensive political organizing background. I'm a delegate. The Follow My Vote and Bitshares seem to be joined at the hip, so that seems there's every kind of common cause imaginable. We're running meetups. We could kind of have a 2-for-1 situation here where, at our meetups, one of the things we often bring up is that voting is a thing that could be radically transformed and improved in all the ways that you're speaking about. But we don't currently. We can point people towards Follow My Vote. If there was some sort of actionable step that everybody in each state could take, apart from just signing that one petition, where we could identify in each state, who needs to be reached, what legislation needs to be approached, to be changed, or laws introduced, we could work on that. I know Minnesota, where I live, is a fairly progressive state. I also know many city council members, and I don't know the Secretary of State, but it wouldn't seem that by organizing now groups of people in each state, that even before the technology is ready, it seems like you already know that we need to start organizing now. So how can we coordinate with different people in different states to begin working on this? I'm really interested in working on that, and I know other people in our community are as well.
No, that's fantastic. Actually, that's music to my ears. I'm really excited to hear you say that. I think that we need to work through the framework. This is something that we have been recently looking at. Sorry, having some issues there. But no, I think that I would absolutely love your support or anyone else's support that wants to get involved in working together to do this. To your point, we need a framework on our website that can allow us to target the right people in the right states and get the messages and the points across. Right now, one of our first things to do was, okay, while we're working through that, let's put something generic, let's put something general out there, just so we have something. But now we know in order to be effective, we have to really slice and dice this and make sure that we get the right people, the people to the right, legislators or election officials or secretaries of state or whatever, to voice their opinion, and in hopes that their opinion will be heard. So I would love to work with you. It sounds like you kind of got a good sense of what needs to be done and how it can be done. And we're that's the path that we're on, and it's great that you want to get involved. I've kind of felt like we were alone in the fight, in a sense, and expected to, as a small team, expected to kind of do this on our own. And it's great to hear that you want to get involved, and that seems like you could be a very, very valuable asset in fighting the good fight. So let's work together. Let's figure it out. But I think the first step is really to come up with a framework. So you said you're in Minnesota, so I would love to get your feedback. Okay, if we're going to develop a website, we're working with one of our marketing partners to come up with a framework for a page on Virginia, and say, okay, if you're in Virginia, what are the laws that are, how is voting done in your state? One, do you have voter ID laws? Do you not have voter ID laws? How do people register to vote? How do they go and vote on election day? What are the voting laws currently in that state? What laws would need to be changed in order for this solution to actually be implemented? Who are the legislators? Who are the decision makers? How do we create a way for the people to reach out? And so that's the framework that we're working on for the state of Virginia. If you have your own ideas on what that framework would kind of be like, or what we should include in that, feel free to take a stab at Minnesota and put together a proposal on kind of, what you think that would look like. And maybe that could become the model for some of the other pages that we built out. But ideally, we want to have at least at the highest level a page like that on each state where people can get involved in a more targeted way that allows them to connect to people that have the power to make the decisions and changes that are necessary to get this done.
Thanks. I think you have a lot of friends and allies, and this is an issue that's very near and dear to many people's hearts. And I posted a link to the votehemp.com website because I noticed a while back that they have a very effective kind of organization where they break it down state by state, what the current laws are, what needs to get done, and they're just kind of tackling it on that level. So that's seems like an effective approach, but well, we'll see if it's effective. But yeah, I'm interested in working on this, and I'm sure many other people are as well. So it's a matter of having the structure to kind of contain everybody's efforts.
This is actually kind of one of the reasons why I was asking the questions that I was asking, because there's a level of political drive to people who are in the Bitshares ecosystem, right? And many of them are concerned, rightfully so, about whether, is Follow My Vote going to be a separate DAC, or is it going to rely on Bitshares before they would be happy with seeing the Bitshares community marketing efforts pushed into a direction that they may perceive as being a potential competitor in the future. Not all of us look at it that way, but I wanted to bring that into the equation because that is what Bitscape's been talking about. And if you see what's going on behind the scenes, there are a lot of people who are working on a lot of stuff these days. Like Bitscape said, there's probably a lot of people who'd be very interested in this and helping.
I mean, that would be great. I mean, I know that, at the moment, Bitshares is the core platform, and BitAssets it is our focus and should be our focus. And I've been hesitant to reach out to anyone in the community to get involved in any sort of marketing efforts related to Follow My Vote and to the voting component of Bitshares. And so that's kind of at this point why I haven't engaged anyone in potentially getting involved, but now that I'm just thinking about it, I'm thinking out loud, really, there may be a whole host of people in the Bitshares community that have yet to get involved because they may not be truly understand or be passionate about some of the other areas of Bitshares, whereas, we're talking about voting and, getting a grassroots movement campaign going and things. There may be a whole other set of people in the Bitshares community that would be happy to help out and is not currently committed to marketing the other aspects of Bitshares.
Yeah, Cass is saying here, so basically no marketing initiative for Bitshares directly is currently in progress, right?
So we're managing the Twitter account. We're managing the Google Plus account. We're involved in social media. Have had some great success, especially on Twitter. And again, working with, complementing a little bit of what RG Crypto has done on Facebook, which he's had some great success there. So that's really been our focus. And of course, helping Cass out with a few things that we've done to help with the transition. I tried to get him more involved in helping out on the website and stuff, but, a lot of my ideas or requests were kind of not taken. I felt a little bit like I was spinning my wheels. So I kind of took a step back and said, I'll let you guys, do what you do and focus on, a website I can have creative control over and use to market indirectly, which is the Follow My Vote website.
Something that you have control over.
Yeah, there's a lot of stakeholders in Bitshares, and there's a lot of people that have their ideas on how best to market Bitshares and how best to what messaging to use and how to convey the value propositions that Bitshares has. And, I'd prefer to leave that up to people that are in control of that messaging and have their strong opinions about how that should be done. I don't think that, with the limited amount of time that I have, I don't think that that is where I'm going to be able to create value for Bitshares. I think my time is best spent in other areas.
So this brings a good closing point, question, which Once Upon a Time brings up. He asks here, is Follow My Vote a 501k or is it a DAC? What is it and who owns it?
So Follow My Vote is an actual corporation. It is a corporation that I personally own. I have a 100% stake in. I haven't done around a fundraiser or anything like that. It's Focus, though, and a way to generate revenue in the long term is to partner with Bitshares and develop a voting system that can be monetized, not only by the Bitshares community, but also by the company as a whole.
Is there any place where, would you like to remind anybody of any links or any way of contacting you before we close her out?
Sure. We've talked about a lot of exciting things that we have going on, both in Bitshares and Follow My Vote. And if there's anyone that's interested in learning more about Follow My Vote and what we've been up to and its relationship to Bitshares, feel free to visit the followmyvote.com website or check out our social media accounts. If you would like to get involved directly with the team, the Follow My Vote team, in any of our marketing-related initiatives that will indirectly benefit Bitshares, feel free to reach out to me directly at adam@followmyvote.com, and we can work to help, promote the idea and gain support the voting system's use when it's ready to go.
Thank you very much, everybody, for attending.